Hello, model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Ral, and this week's build I'm featuring here, this is a 70 Chevelle SS 454. And it's a pretty rare car, but not really when you go to shows and stuff. You see these all over the place. And when it comes to the 70 Chevelles, they made a ton of them as far as Malibu Sport Coupes and everything. And it's also an easily faked clone car, which is not surprising when it comes to these. Even mine, kind of the same thing. My 71 Malibu, it was a Malibu, but now it's got the SS hood on it and the stripes and everything. But with the parts availability and reproduction parts, you can't buy the Malibu hood as a reproduction part. But the SS hoods are available. So a lot of the SS parts are available and easy to put on top of any of these. And when it comes to them, the VINs actually don't tell you that they're an SS or not. So when it comes to doing a good quality fake, it is kind of easy to do, unfortunately. Not like the Mopars, the VINs don't really tell you it's a Super Sport or anything. It just comes up Malibu Sport Coupe, and the VIN will tell you 8-cylinder. That's all the VIN tells you. The build sheet, on the other hand, that's what you need to verify, but even that can be faked. And there were quite a number of them, actually, when it comes to 1970. So there were some changes for 1970, though. Besides getting into all the body stuff and all the sheet metal changes to update it a bit, for 1970, bucket seats were no longer, a standard thing. That's a big myth. You could get an SS with a bench seat. So it was no longer bucket seats, which, at previous years, that was kind of thrown into the SS package, where especially 64 and 65, the SS package was more an appearance and comfort package, bucket seats, extra chrome and everything. But by 66, it was big block only, and this was no exception. But in 1970, they added the stripes, which were optional. They're not standard. You could get them, and most of them had that. And one of the big things the SSs don't have is rocker moldings here. That was a Malibu only thing, but they had the wheel opening trim for 70, 71, and 72. And, they had this pad on the rear bumper, which was standard on the SS, and the SS markings on it. But they could have the sport mirrors and they could have the regular mirrors. So there's a number of things that kind of misleading, but all of them have the round gauges with the tack and the speedometer versus the Malibu swept gauges. So all of the SSs had that, but they didn't always have to have a tack, but they had round gauges. So some confusion there, but with Monte Carlos, they have all the same gauges for the most part, the round thing, but the Monte Carlos have the wood trim on the dash, where Chevelles do not. But people have taken Monte Carlo dashes and put them in Chevelles. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. But when it came to actual production numbers and how GM looked at it, the SS 396 and the SS 454 were technically different cars, different option packages. So it's kind of weird that they did that. So the Super Sport package was on the Malibu Coupe, and convertible, and even the El Camino was available on the El Camino for 1970. It jumped around a bit on El Caminos, but not available on the station wagon, which I think would be cool. I've seen a number of them built that way, but the SS package was not available on it. But the 396 cars and the 454 cars were definitely different option packages, is how GM looked at it. But with 62,000, I believe 370 Chevelle SSs made, most of them were actually 396 cars. Only about 8,800 or something like that were 454 cars. What's interesting with that, when you got into the 454 cars, was there was two engines, the LS5 and the LS6. Of course, the LS6 is the legendary one. That was a solid lifter cam, 4-bolt main block, forged internals, and it made 450 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. You had the 4-speed manual or the Turbo 400 transmission behind it, so you had your choice of manual or automatic, and it came with a 12-bolt rear end with either 331 gears or 410 gears, 411 gears in it. And it all had heavy duty suspension and disc brakes with front and rear sway bars and boxed rear control arms. Quite a potent package, it really was. The interesting part is Chevrolet knows, now they didn't keep track of their RPO codes that well. They know they made 4,475 LS6 motors. And then in Chevelles, they know that there was about 8,000 of them. Like I mentioned, about 8,800 of them have the LS5 in it. And that was your 360 horsepower 454. Still a good performer, but not the same as this bad boy, as the LS6. But so it's interesting to find out that if you have a real SS 454, there's almost a 50-50 shot that it's got the big motor in it. Find that kind of interesting that, you know, that many people have stepped up to the 454. It was, you know, roughly 50%. But they don't have numbers breaking down into how many of those 4,475 LS6 motors that went in Chevelles, that went into, that's the LS6 options, went into hardtops, convertibles, or even El Caminos. They were made, they just don't know how many. So most of them turn up in hardtops, and convertibles are very rare. Same thing with El Caminos. But it's just still a very cool, very stunning car. So with that, we'll continue on. That's the kind of the history portion that I really like to do and get into my builds here. And if you like that content, I do appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I like to do that on a lot of my builds. And the thumbs up so you can get all my latest uploads. But we'll take this outside and we'll show you what it looks like in the sun. We'll show you under the hood and the details, and I'll tell you more about the actual build on this particular one from the Revell Monogram kit. All right, here we are out in a 114-degree summer day here in Arizona, and seeing how this thing looks out in the sun. And well, that sun can really make some of these colors pop, huh? Definitely so much better. Again, I got to thank BG for sponsoring this rotisserie or Lazy Susan or whatever you want to call it turntable. This kind of was a joke at first, but you guys seem to enjoy it, and it really helps in making it stand out here in the sun. Not here my tires drag on, but there she is, looking really good there. It's all right. Let's see what the other one looks like in the sun here. So let's since I got both of them out, well, look at that. Boy, that is one red color right there. Now this, I believe, was Tamiya Mica red spray aerosol, but I did clear coat it with the True Automotive clear coat that I use. And man, that's looking good. So while not perfect, these Revell Monogram Chevelles, 70 Chevelles, they're pretty cool. There we go. All right, we'll head back inside. All right, hope that comes out pretty well. This blue looks really good in here, and like I mentioned, this is Revell Monogram kit. I'll throw the box art up here. You know, mostly seen as the Heavy Chevy kit with the decals, even though the Heavy Chevy was not an option in 70, but it's nicknamed that. That was a 71 and 72 option. But this was a fun build, and it's a rebuild here, if I can get the hood off. Not really the most accurate. You know, the underside of the hood's painted, but none of the bracing or any of that stuff's under the hood. There's a Cal induction hood on it, which is cool, functional. But this actual part here on the real car, it's fun watching that thing flip up and down, but it really isn't the Cal induction part of it. That piece is actually under the hood. Learned that when I was building my car and made it completely functional. But there's the 454 engine and how they give it to you with that chrome air cleaner, which is cool, but it's not really accurate, especially for the functional Cal induction. That's not the right air cleaner. And you got the disc brakes, and you got the AC and the vacuum piece right there. And a pretty cool kit, considering this is actually a Monogram kit from the 80s. Fairly simple kit, but easy kit to build. This is one of the early ones that's actually molded in blue. which I kind of like it that way. That was one of the things I liked about them. Was you didn't have to paint them, but I did paint this one. I did a horrible paint job, basically, which, in my vintage photos here, you can see that it's very blotchy. I used spray paints, and especially the flash, it would really show through that the coverage wasn't all that good, and you could see around all of the jams. So when I did rebuild this, I stripped it and airbrushed it and everything and cleared, and these decals, I'm not even really sure I cleared it, but got another set of decals and built it and enjoyed it. So, but I pretty much left, it how it was, especially when it came to the chassis and my brush painted exhaust here and gas stick. So when I rebuilt it, I really didn't do much of any of that stuff. I put the bigger tires on the back, which I always like these tires, but you don't see them too much because they had the big and little tires. The real car had the same size tires all the way around. But, I really like this car, and it's a simple one, and I don't have another one of it, which I kind of wish I do. Maybe I'll pick one up when I find one. But I did build this one. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel, you've seen I built the Baldwin Motion one, which is the last tool of this, I believe, which I still think is more than 10 years ago now, where they added this hood, a couple of the engine parts here, and the side pipes. I changed the wheels out, and but this is pretty much the same tooling as that kit, but it's just my newer build here. But I had to have this kit, and I bought it, and I got a couple of them, but I had to raw the decals because I had some issues with these stripes on this particular one. So there's a video on this, so you guys can go through my channel and see that one. But I just kind of have to show them together, because it's just great to see them like this. But, when I take it out in the sun, maybe I should do a quick little one with this one as well. See what that color looks like in the sun, because the camera doesn't quite pick up all the details inside here with the lighting. But I think this one looks really good in blue. Love it in blue, which is my favorite there. But, they're pretty much standard black interior and mirrors. And then there's a little bit of a body line here that's kind of a pain to deal with, but you can sand and work it and make it better. So I believe I did that to both of these. Maybe not so much this one. You can kind of see it on this fender. But I know I had to work it on the other one as well. But for pretty fun cars, not the greatest kits, but they're nice kits to build. They display really well. And fit, I don't remember being much of an issue on either one of them. And just really enjoyed them. Just painting the grill and some of the details is a little frustrating, but not too bad. And then, these tires were painted a long time ago, and I didn't update these tires as far as cleaning them up and painting them when I redid the exterior on this. But, like I said, this one has all the foil on it and everything. But in my vintage photos that you saw from, 30 years ago, it was all this silver was brush painted and pretty sloppy and everything. And just one of the ones that I had to take apart and just redo, because while I liked the car at the time, I really didn't have the funds, and finding some of these kits that weren't available for a while were kind of expensive on eBay, and paying shipping and everything back then. So I just rebuilt what I had, cleaned it up and rebuilt it, and that's what happened to this one. So there are times I kind of wish that I had started with a fresh kit and kept that build, but I still probably wouldn't display it in my case. I just keep it. But anyway, that's enough rambling on with this one. So I figured you guys would enjoy it, and I'd share it with you. And I hadn't shared this particular 70 Chevelle before, as it's the other one that I built, but it's a much older build. But thank you for tuning in, subscribing, and all your comments. I really do appreciate it, you guys. And you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next Saturday.